So there's 5 beliefs that I want to touch on here just to give you a kind of understanding. Some of the beliefs that maybe you have, maybe your parents had, maybe the people you hang around with have. First one is a famous one. I love this one. Money is the root of all evil. If you're thinking, yeah, it is, okay, let's just, before we get there, let's really examine and unpack this idea. Money is the root of all evil. To me, that makes about the same amount of sense as saying poverty is the root of all evil. I don't say this to be cheeky. I say this because the idea of money as having some sort of a moral compass, a moral direction that goes, listen, money is a tool, just like a hammer. It's morally neutral. The moral factor of it, whether it's good or evil, comes in by the people who wield it. I mean, certainly a lot of good can be done with a hammer, and also a lot of bad if it falls in the wrong hands. And the same is true of money. I think what people mean when they say that money is the root of all evil is that the love of money is the root of all evil, but this is obvious. I mean, we all know that life is more than just a bottom line figure. Life is full of experiences, emotions, love. It's way more important than just how much take-home cash you got. So, but because that's obvious, when I hear someone say that money is the root of all evil, what to me it sounds like is they're kind of offloading a very serious burden that they have onto this idea that it's somehow bad if you make it your responsibility to collect cash or to think about money or to plan for your future and for your family. So money is the root of all evil, so is poverty. I mean, it's morally neutral. I don't really buy that excuse, and I think that if you have that as a habit of thought, you should drop it also. Number 2 of the 5 harmful beliefs. Rich people are greedy. This is a very common one. It actually hit home for me one time because I brought a business opportunity to a friend of mine. And I said, look, with this business, all you have to do is this, this, and this, and then you get these kinds of results, and you can make an additional income, and you don't even really have to work that hard. His response to me was really quite interesting. It was, I have enough. It's another way of saying, rich people are greedy. He doesn't want to be greedy. He doesn't want to go beyond his means and get more, because that would be bad. To me, his response shows clearly who he cares about, and that's numero uno. He doesn't care about other people that might be in need, because he doesn't have the extra income to support those people. I mean, what would happen if someone he really cared about, I hope this doesn't happen. I'm not knocking the guy. I'm not judging him. But I'm just really trying to unpack this common belief that we have that we don't really think about. Rich people are greedy. What does that look like? You can't help anybody with that. If his mom got sick, if his dad got sick, grandparents, his cousins, his brothers, his sisters, his friends, the people he's never even going to meet in his life, this guy is not going to impact anybody else in his life because he hasn't given himself the option to do it by bringing on more than what he just needs to subsist on. This idea that rich people are greedy is a horrible idea. It gives you the excuse of saying, well, I'm not going to bother learning more or doing anything different in my life because I don't want to be greedy. That's your brain working on you. That's the autocorrect, and that's the harmful habit that keeps you from thinking about a better financial outlook for yourself. There are, of course, examples of rich people being greedy, and certainly people who inherit money. They're not the same kinds of people as the people who have earned riches. I know these people, and these people are the most generous people I know. They give to all kinds of philanthropic endeavors. They support their communities. They're actively involved. And the reason they do this is because their wealth, part of that growth of wealth is a search for understanding and deeper meaning, a connection to humanity. They're able to give back and feel like their life had meaning in addition to having, all the fun of having the wealth. Rich people are greedy. I completely disagree with this one. This is another harmful one that you want to chuck out. Replace it with some better thoughts. Number 3, money doesn't buy happiness. There's songs on this. It's a very popular concept in our culture. And you may have actually heard the rejoinder to this saying, money doesn't buy happiness, well, neither does poverty. That, again, is not meant to be cheeky. It's just a case in point. I mean, look back again on these examples. The people that have the wealth that they're able to share and make a real impact on the world, they don't have to worry about making payments each month or how they're going to retire or whether or not they're going to get that promotion. These are non-issues for them. They have more than enough, and they can instead turn their energies towards meaningful, fulfilling pursuits like helping other people. I've got a personal mentor. This guy used to be a real estate broker. He eventually got into real estate investing, made a ton of cash, and he spends his time now traveling the world and drinking wine with his friends. But what he also does is he doesn't worry about a career. He finds people, I suppose like me, that have the kind of attitude, the kind of thinking that he had in his younger years. And he coaches them. He takes them under his wing and shares a bit of philosophy, shares a bit of his stories and his experience. Because this is something that he now has the time to do. It's something that makes him incredibly happy. It gives him meaning to know that he's making an impact on my life and all the hundreds of other people just like me that he interacts with on a daily basis. It's just what he loves to do. Money doesn't buy happiness, not directly, but I'll tell you something that it does do. It relieves the tension, that weight on your chest just bringing you down. The thought that you have bills to pay, you got to answer that alarm clock, you got to go to work, and you got to ask for your break time at lunch, you got to ask for that promotion, you got to hope that your 401k can help you retire. These things don't make you happy. As a matter of fact, there is a scientific study on this. Apparently, there's a range between $75,000 to $125,000. The people in this income bracket, this earning bracket, tend to have the highest levels, the self-reported levels of happiness when asked. More so than the majority of people that are well below that number. And actually, the levels of happiness, self-reported happiness, they increase, but only marginally after that $125,000. So as a matter of fact, the science says that yes, money does buy happiness, and it's for a very obvious reason. It takes all that pressure off you. It makes you live life according to the way that you think it should be lived, doing what you love and helping other people. So one thing I want to point out, the people that do have this income bracket, the happier people, they're not just sort of out screwing around with money. What they do with that money is they use it on things that buy them time, buy them memories, buy them events that they can grow from personally. That's the real point. It's not that you have all this money so that you can have a big empty mansion like Richie Rich or multiple cars. I mean, again, that's the finer stuff in life. Do what you want with it. They do what they want. But the real happiness, it comes because the money affords the time to do what you really love to do. Harmful belief number 4. This one comes from the Bible. If you're not familiar with the Bible, you may have just heard this anyway. It's easier to fit a camel through the eye of a needle than to get a rich man into heaven. This one is very interesting. It takes place within a context of spirituality. And at the time, when Jesus was kind of up and coming, the people that were only able to make it into the kingdom of heaven were these kinds of rich people. And what Jesus was talking about here was not that rich people are greedy or money is the root of all evil. What he was saying was when all that you care about, when you replace your spiritual side with the pursuit of money, again, the love of money or some level of greed or pride, these are, again, the other sins. You can't get into heaven that way. And he was saying he wants everybody to get into heaven, whether they're rich or poor. So it wasn't about focusing on riches. It was about focusing on your connection to God. And that's really what he was talking about in that context there. It doesn't mean that rich people don't get into heaven. That's often a misinterpretation. There's a context behind it that needs to take place in order to really unpack that statement. So that one, it should be a little bit modified. It should be looked at a little bit differently. I'm not going to press you on your beliefs or your views there, but that's where that statement takes place. It's not what most people think it means. The 5th harmful habit, again, this is another Bible quote, and it is that the meek shall inherit the earth. I'll talk a little bit about the Bible here. It doesn't really matter if what your religious view is. The reason I bring these points up is because they're very popular. And the Bible actually is kind of interesting because there are other proverbs in there like 21:20. The wise have the wealth and luxury, but fools spend whatever they can get. And the thing is, if you look at the Bible, whoever uses certain Bible quotes in certain contexts really tells you a lot about their views about money. And that's why it's so important. It's not about whether or not I'm taking the religious debate out of this and bringing in the heart of what it is that we talk about in our society. When we say things like, the meek shall inherit the earth, meekness should not be confused with weakness. I mean, Jesus was arguably the meekest of them all. Jesus was a person who, through the most difficult times, needed to find strength to carry it through. That quality that meekness is what inherits the earth. It's not it's not an encouragement to not exercise or to not plan for your financial future. And I know what this kind of quote does. People tend to use it to, again, offload the burden of having to explain their financial picture or tell someone how they're going to do good for their family. And they say, well, you know how it is, the meek will inherit the earth. And again, they're not the same. There's a strength to meekness. There's not much of a strength to weakness. It's the antithesis of strength. And I just think that this kind of a viewpoint enables us to be underproductive because we can look to the Bible or we can look to what most people agree and say, well, it's not meek. But that's not what meek is. There is strength in meekness, and there is strength in pursuing a better financial picture for yourself and for your family.